No one made an offer. Her body was too big for them, but one human saw her true worth. I'll never forget the first time I laid eyes on her. Most men wouldn't look twice at a Varkari female, especially not one like her. 7 feet tall if she was an inch, muscles thick as ship bulkheads, skin like midnight iron with a faint glimmer when the sun caught it just right. She didn't walk so much as move through space, like gravity bent around her instead of the other way round. To the rest of the crowd at that off-world slave auction, she was just a spectacle, a freak show they came to gawk at, laugh at, maybe bet a few chips on whether anyone would actually make a bid. They didn't know what I knew. They didn't see what I saw. The planet was Junos Delta, third moon of an abandoned gas giant, turned into a pit-stop hub for mercenaries, pirates, and low-life traders. The auction yard sat under a decaying spaceport canopy, all rusted girders and flickering holosigns. The kind of place that smelled like cheap oil and spilled blood. I wasn't there to buy. Hell, I didn't have the creds for a bottle of water, let alone a sentient life form. I was just laying low, hiding from a job that went sideways. One of those ops you don't walk away from unless you're lucky or dead. I was the former, barely. So I leaned against a support beam, kept my hood low, and watched the show. That's when she came out. The auctioneer called her Lot 47, said her name was Corinth, heavy labor class, war-bred Varkari female, formerly of the Shattered Claw Battalion. A fighter, a relic from a war most people had already forgotten. She had iron shackles around her wrists, like anything could actually hold her if she really wanted to get out. I could hear the laughter from the crowd. One guy shouted something crude. Another waved a credit shit, then yanked it back and doubled over laughing. The auctioneer's smile got tighter by the minute, desperate. He started slashing the price down, practically begging for someone to take her off his hands. No one stepped forward because she was too big, too tall, too strong, too intimidating, and too proud to hide it. She stood there straight-backed, glaring down at the crowd like they were insects, not begging, not breaking, just watching. And that's when I felt it, that pull in my gut, like fate had taken a crowbar and cracked open my chest, whispering, "That one. That's her. I couldn't afford her. I shouldn't even want her, but I did." I stepped forward, slow, real slow. Every eye in the place turned on me like I'd just grown 3 heads. "You got a death wish, human?" someone sneered. The auctioneer blinked, then squinted like he thought I was a mirage. You placing a bid?" I looked up at her, at Corinth. She looked down at me, those golden eyes burning like furnace fire behind that stoic face. And I said the stupidest thing I'd said all month. "I'll take her." Everyone started laughing again. Not with me, at me. "You gonna use her as a ladder, little man? Hope you got insurance. She's gonna snap you in half." But the auctioneer just shrugged. "Sold. Lot 47. Final bid. 1 credit." I paid with the only chit I had left. 1 lousy credit. Just enough to validate the transaction. They unshackled her and shoved her toward me like a sack of weapons-grade meat. And she didn't say a word. We walked out of that rusted compound together. Her stride was twice mine, and yet she slowed down for me. Just a little. I didn't say thanks. She didn't ask questions. We just moved through the city ruins, past broken towers and ash-covered streets. Finally, when we were clear of the crowd, she stopped and spoke. "You bought me." It wasn't a question. It was a challenge. I nodded. "Didn't sit right, seeing you treated like that. You a slave sympathizer?" "Number I just don't like waste." She stared at me. Then she did something I didn't expect. She laughed. Not a cruel laugh. Not mocking. Just amused. Deep and rumbling, like thunder in the bones. "You're a strange little human. You're a tall damn Varkari." We stared at each other, and then she said, "I don't belong to you." I smiled. "Good. I wouldn't know what to do with you if you did." We set up camp in an old cargo warehouse on the city's edge. I patched the roof while she tore out busted walls like they were made of paper. We didn't talk much, but the silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was easy, peaceful. That night I made a fire. She sat near it, cross-legged, arms folded, watching the flames. "Why did no one want you?" I finally asked. She didn't flinch. "Because I broke the last one who tried to chain me." I raised an eyebrow. "You mean you killed someone?" She nodded once. "He tried to train me, with pain. Did he deserve it?" She looked at me like the answer was obvious. "Yes." I didn't ask more. She looked up at the stars. "I was born for war, bred in tanks. My bones are reinforced. My heart beats stronger than yours. But when the wars ended, no one had a place for me. I was too much. Too strong? Too everything. Too big. Too intense. Too violent. No tribe wanted me. No commander trusted me. No mate would even consider it. I was designed to conquer, and now the galaxy wants smiles and pliability." I looked at her. "Their loss." She turned her head. "You don't flinch when I talk. I've had worse company, and you don't stare at me like I'm an animal." "You're not." She leaned forward, the firelight painting her features in orange shadows. "So what do you see, human?" And I told her the truth. "I see someone who's been broken and reforged, who's stronger than she should have had to be. I see someone who could crush me in a heartbeat, but hasn't." She was quiet a long time. Then, "My name's not Corinth." I blinked. "It's not?" She shook her head. "It's what they labeled me in the army. My name is Shari Vale." I tried it out loud. "Shari Vale." She nodded. "You say it well." We didn't sleep that night, just sat near the fire, sharing stories in pieces. Her voice was low, steady, like a drum beat. She told me about her squad, about the betrayal that got them slaughtered, how she alone survived. I told her about my job, running extractions for people too valuable to be caught, too dumb to stay hidden. By the time the sky lightened, I realized something. This wasn't a temporary alliance. This was the beginning of something I didn't have a word for yet. But Junos Delta wasn't done with us. Not by a long shot. Because 2 days later, a bounty squad showed up. And they weren't there for me. They were there for her. They hit us just before dawn. 3 skimmers low on grav thrusts, quiet like death. No warning, no negotiations. Just impact grenades and laser netting tearing through the old warehouse like paper. I barely rolled behind a support beam before the first shot scorched the wall where my head used to be. Shari Vale? She didn't run. She roared. I'd seen soldiers fight. I'd watched professionals dismantle whole squads with precision. But what she did wasn't trained. It was instinct. 3 bounty hunters, full armor, upgraded reflex rigs, auto-targeting visors, got taken apart in less than 20 seconds. First guy came at her with a plasma cleaver. She caught his wrist mid-swing, crushed it in her bare hand. Second guy fired a burst. She didn't dodge. She moved into it, took the hit in her shoulder, then yanked a ceiling beam free and threw it like a javelin, cracked his rib cage like a wet crate. The last one, smart one, tried to run. She was faster. By the time I stumbled out of cover, Shari stood alone, breathing hard, eyes glowing in the smoke and dust. Her shoulder was charred, black blood trickling down one bicep. I stepped over one of the bodies, looked at the gear, custom tags, clean kill orders. These weren't thugs, I muttered. They were professionals. She nodded. That one, she said, towing the biggest corpse, was Volt class. Former Confederacy infiltrator. I fought his unit once. He should have known better. I swallowed. So, why were they after you? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked to the edge of the warehouse, eyes scanning the horizon. They want what's inside me, I blinked. Meaning? Varkari Command implanted tech during the war. Bioarchives, combat heuristics, encrypted coordinates, the kind of stuff that dies with the soldier. But you didn't die. I'm the last of my battalion, so whatever secrets they left are locked in me. I whistled low. That's a hell of a prize. Not to me, she said quietly. It's a death sentence. We packed fast. Didn't have a choice. If one squad found us, more would follow. We headed east, toward the jagged dunes of the Razorline Wastes. No one sane went that way. The place fried nav systems and cooked your blood if you stayed too long. but I knew a smuggler's tunnel under the old missile silos. We'd be ghosts in the wind by morning. Or so I thought. We traveled on foot, no engines, no signals, just dust and silence, and that presence she carried beside me like a force field. I'd never met anyone like her. Every move she made was precise, calculated, yet underneath that armor of silence and strength, I could feel restraint, like she was always holding something back. At one point, we stopped near a broken pipeline. She offered me a ration bar, rough, dense, military-issue junk, but the gesture surprised me. "You ever get tired?" I asked. She stared at me. "Of running?" "Number of being." "Too much." She paused. "Every day." That night, I cleaned her wound, sat close, peeled back the burned skin, and sprayed it with synth foam. She didn't flinch once, but she watched me, like she was waiting for me to hesitate. I didn't. "You know," I said, "you don't have to carry all this alone." She tilted her head. "What else is there?" "Trust, teamwork, letting someone in." She looked away. "I was made to lead, not lean." "You were made," I said, "but you are something more." We kept moving. Days blurred together, dust storms, cracked bones, a close call with a drone patrol that forced us to lie motionless under a collapsed monorail for 5 hours. But we made it, to the silo tunnels. And that's where everything changed. The tunnels were pitch black, no power, just rust and silence and stale air. I took point with a scanner, Shari at my back. At the third junction, we found the relay node still online. And the message waiting inside? A trap. The second I touched the interface, the node spiked, a signal burst straight into orbit. She lunged and yanked me back, just as the ceiling behind us collapsed. Fire, debris, reinforced trooper pods dropping in from above. 4 of them, big ones, augmented, not bounty hunters, retrieval specialists. Shari didn't wait for them to speak. She launched herself into the first trooper like a meteor, steel against steel, flesh against armor. I tried to draw fire, keep the others off her, but they weren't interested in me. They wanted her alive. I wasn't having it. I rigged an old fusion pipe behind cover, charged it, timed the pulse, and detonated it right as one of the troopers tried to flank her. Boom! The tunnel shook. I heard one of them scream. The blast caught another one in the leg, twisted him into a wall. Shari took care of the rest. When the dust cleared, we were both bleeding, bruised, shaking, but alive, barely. She slumped against the wall, her breath ragged. I crawled to her side, and for the first time, she let me hold her. Her not because she needed protection, but because she let herself be seen. She whispered, "You should have left me." And I said, "I'm not like the others." She looked at me, eyes burning bright. "Number, you're not." That night, under flickering tunnel lights, we rested side by side. Not as captor and cargo, not as soldier and stray, but as equals. 2 people who'd been thrown out by the galaxy, told they were too broken, too dangerous, too different, and somehow found each other in the wreckage. I didn't know what came next, but I knew one thing. I wasn't giving her up, not to hunters, not to corporations, not even to fate, because I saw her true worth, even when no one else did. We didn't speak much after the ambush, not because there was nothing to say, but because what lingered between us didn't need words. That kind of silence is rare, the kind where you can feel the other person's thoughts brushing your own like shadows under the same flame. Still, I knew something had changed, in her and in me. After escaping the tunnel, we spent 3 days moving through a maze of dead mining tunnels under the Kestrel Mountains. The oxygen was thin. The walls hummed with ancient energy long shut down. We needed a safe place, somewhere remote enough to hide but connected enough to dig into what those hunters were really after. I had one contact left, someone from a job I'd botched years ago, but I saved his life, so I figured I had one favor coming. His name was Sidrex Vaughn, ex-gunner, tech specialist, paranoid freak. Lived in the slag ruins of Hadrian City under a false ID and enough weapons to invade a moon. He didn't ask questions when I showed up with Sharivel. He just looked at her and muttered, "You bring war everywhere you go, huh?" His lab was a nightmare of wires, humming nodes, drone carcasses, and alien tech humming with unstable pulses. But it had what we needed: med bay, scanners, data decryptors. That night, Shari finally let him run a scan on her. It took over 6 hours. And when it finished, we found out why those bounty squads hadn't stopped coming. She's got a black box. Cedrex stared at the holographic breakdown, eyes wide, like deep-layered, subdermal cortex-linked. Varkari command-grade encryption wrapped around a quantum memory core. I've only seen something like this once, and that was in a Varkari war cruiser, not a damn person. Shari didn't react, but I leaned forward. So what's inside it? Cedrex hesitated. Battle maps, tactical protocols, weapon schematics. But that's not all. He flicked a few keys. A new display appeared. She's also carrying something else. A genetic cipher, I frowned. What the hell is that? He pointed to a glowing helix. It's a biological key. Basically, she is the access code to something. Big, hidden. Shari spoke then, quietly. The Vault of Kirax. Cedrex froze. I blinked. What is that? She looked at me. A super weapon, lost in the last war. A failsafe built by the old warlords, sealed away before the final collapse. Only my battalion knew the location. They burned it from every system, left only one copy, in me. Cedrex stepped back like she might explode. You're carrying the key to the end of a star system. No wonder bounty squads are foaming at the mouth. I looked at her. Why didn't you tell me? Because, she said, I didn't trust you. A pause, then she added, not until now. She could have kept running, left me, ditched the risk, disappeared into the void. But she didn't. She looked at me and said, I want you to help me destroy it. My breath caught. The vault? She nodded. There are people out there who would use it, sell it, unleash it. I won't let that happen. You trust me with this? Her voice was steady. You saw me when no one else did. Not as a weapon, not as property. You saw me. If I'm going to end this, I want you there when I do. We planned for 3 days. Cedrex decrypted the memory layers, found coordinates buried beneath false codes, somewhere in the Cinder expanse, a dead world abandoned after tectonic collapse. No signals, no satellites, no eyes. Perfect for hiding a monster. We geared up. Quiet weapons, shield patches, gravity cloaks. Cedrex gave me a look as I strapped on an old pulse rifle. You sure about this? He asked. That vault's buried for a reason. I nodded. She needs backup. And if she snaps? I glanced at her across the room, lit in the glow of a recharge coil. She won't. The trip took 2 days in an old stealth shuttle. Quiet ride, but not uneventful. That second night, I found her on the observation deck, just standing there, eyes locked on the stars. You ever think about what you'll do after this? I asked. She didn't turn. Number I wasn't made to survive the future, only the war. I stepped beside her. But you have survived. Everything. The battles, the betrayals, the chains. Still, she didn't look at me. I don't want to be alone anymore, she said softly. And then she did look right into me. I don't know how to be anything else. I stepped closer, close enough that I could hear her breathing, slow, heavy. You don't have to be alone, not if you don't want to be. She studied me for a long moment, and then, slowly, she reached out. Her hand dwarfed mine, but when our fingers touched, I didn't feel fear. I felt real. We landed at dawn. Cinder was worse than we expected. Choking ash storms, unstable cliffs, poisoned lakes. The surface cracked and hissed like it hated us, but she led us unerringly through it, to a canyon wall. Buried beneath layers of stone and glassed earth was a door, ancient, alien, and it opened for her like it remembered her. Inside, silence, hallways lit by flickering gold light, statues of long-dead warlords carved into the walls. No dust, no decay, just waiting. At the center of it all was the vault, a device the size of a transport shuttle, covered in etchings, humming with cold, patient power. This is it, she whispered. I took her hand. Let's end it. But we weren't alone. Not anymore. The instant she connected her neural signature, alarms screamed. And the one person I didn't expect stepped out of the shadows. Sidrex, he smiled, holding a disruptor. I appreciate you leading me here, musclehead. You've always been too noble for your own good. I stepped forward. You betrayed us. No, he said. I used you. Big difference. Shari's eyes flared. You're not leaving with it. Oh, I don't plan to leave at all, Sidrex grinned. You're the key, sweetheart, and I'm going to download every last bite of you into this vault. She didn't hesitate. She lunged. But Sidrex was faster, triggered a neural scrambler that lit her up like a broken sun. She hit the floor, screaming, fists slamming down. I saw her eyes, full of rage and pain, and I saw something else. Fear. And I realized something. She could survive the war, but what she feared most was losing herself, becoming what they always saw her as, a thing. I moved, not with weapons, with words. Shari, I shouted. You're not a weapon. You're not a prisoner. You chose this path, and you're not alone. Her hands clenched. Fight it, not for them, not for me, for you. Her eyes locked on mine, and I saw her come back. With a roar, she broke the scrambler's hold, launched herself into Sidrex like a meteor. One punch, that's all it took. He crumpled. Done. She collapsed beside me, and in that silence, I held her. No war, no bounty, just her. We activated the vault's self-destruct, watched the walls begin to crumble, and as we ran, side by side, breath for breath, I realized something. She didn't need saving. She needed someone who believed. We barely made it out. The vault of Kirax detonated beneath us in a wave of fire and thunder that shattered half the canyon. The shock wave hurled us into the ash plains like paper in a furnace blast. I woke up with dust in my throat and blood in my mouth, my ribs aching like I'd been kicked by a grav lifter. She was beside me, bruised, burned, breathing, still alive. I rolled onto my back, staring up at the boiling sky, trying to process what had just happened. The weapon was gone, the bounty was void, and the only person who'd truly known what she carried, Sidrex, was buried 100 meters under a molten tomb. Shari Vel sat up, wincing. You good? I rasped. She nodded slowly. I am now. We didn't say anything else for a while. Sometimes silence says everything. We spent 2 days making our way back to the rendezvous point, scavenging what little water we could from cracked filtration rocks and an emergency pack I'd stashed years ago. She walked with a limp, her shoulder burned deep from the neural scrambler's surge, but she never complained, not once. I offered to carry her. She laughed, just once, but it echoed in my chest like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. That laugh, it was real, and it broke something open in me I hadn't felt in a long time. We reached the shuttle just after sunset on the third day. No signals, no hunters, no more ghosts from the past. Just us, in a sky full of stars we hadn't earned, but were still alive to see. Inside the shuttle, I finally said it, the words I'd been holding back. Not because I was scared, but because I didn't want them to be lost in all the blood, the fire, the war. I wanted her to feel it, to know it. I don't care what's inside you, I said. I don't care what they called you, what you were built for. All I see is you. She didn't look at me right away, but when she did, her eyes weren't cold anymore. They were human. You're the only one who ever looked past the armor, she said. Past the reputation, the warnings, the scars. I saw you before you saw yourself, I whispered. She moved closer. Her body, so massive, so strong it could break steel, was suddenly careful, gentle, like she was afraid she would break me. But I wasn't fragile, not with her. We kissed. It wasn't perfect. It was awkward, rough, unsure, but it was real. And for someone who'd been hunted, feared, misunderstood her whole life, real meant everything. We didn't go back to the cities, didn't rejoin the galactic trade routes, didn't file a report, didn't log what happened. We disappeared. Two ghosts in the far rim, chasing quiet winds and forgotten stars. We made a home on a green moon orbiting a dead gas giant. No traffic, no names, just sky and stone and the slow, healing rhythm of peace. People said she was too big, too strange, too dangerous. Said no one would ever love her. No one would ever stay. No one would ever see her. But I did, and she saw me. She wasn't just a warrior. She wasn't just a body built for war. She was something more. She was a woman who had survived, and I was a man who had waited to find something real in a galaxy full of fake. She told me once, lying beside me under a rain-washed sky, "I don't know what love is supposed to feel like." And I said, "Neither do I. But whatever this is, we made it ourselves." That's the thing they never tell you about love. It's not clean, it's not convenient, and it sure as hell doesn't always look like the stories. Sometimes it's ugly, loud, messy, made from ashes and steel and blood and choice. We weren't built for love, but we chose it anyway, and for the first time in both our lives. That was enough.